This is the story of Angus Ruadh, the seal killer. It was told to David Thomson when he was a little boy by Duncan Macrae in about 1925. Angus Ruadh, red-haired Angus, was a seal killer. He had other work, but that was his main skill. He didn't use a gun or the club, but he killed the seals with a long knife. He was good at his job, but he would never kill a young seal, only fully grown ones. Now the people came to Angus for seal skins and seal oil, and it was a reasonable living. But as time went by, people wanted the seal skins less and less, and he had a great store of them in his house. One night he was sitting by himself at home, and there came a strong rap on the door. He opened the door, and there was a stranger, a very tall man, strong and broad, with a big black coat reaching almost down to his feet. And he said, "Are you Angus Ruadh, the seal killer?" "I am," says Angus. "I have some business with you." "Then come away in," says Angus, "and close the door, and I'll wet the tea for you." "I have no time for that," says the stranger. "I have a message from my master. He has money ready in his hand, and he wishes to buy 100 sealskins from you." "That's a terrible lot of skins," says Angus. "He'll take all you have in the house, and he'll give you a contract for the year to get the rest." "Well," says Angus, "I should talk to him so. Could you bring me to him at first light tomorrow?" "My master is in a great hurry, and you must come to him tonight. I have a horse outside, and I can take you to him." Well, this was an offer that was almost too good to be true for Angus. And nowadays we have community police officers and Radio 4's You and Yours programme to tell you that an offer that seems too good to be true probably isn't true. Angus did not have this advice. But if he listened to what his grandmother had told him when he was a little boy, he should have known that anyway. But he puts on his coat and he goes out with the great man. And there is a big black horse outside, tall and strong like the man himself. And they get up and they ride away, and they ride so fast the wind behind them can't keep up with them. And they come to the top of a great cliff, 400 feet above the deep sea. And they ride right to the edge of the cliff and they dismount. And Angus looks around. "So where is your master that we've come to see?" "You'll see," says the stranger. And he wraps his long arms round Angus and holds him tight. And he puts his mouth over Angus's mouth and breathes a great breath into his lungs. And then he steps off the cliff down to the sea. And as they fall, he clamps his hand over Angus's mouth and nose. And they fall and fall through the air, and then fall and fall and fall through the sea. And Angus thinks his lungs will burst in spite of the great breath that the man has put into him. When they reach the bottom amongst the sand and the seaweed, there is a door. And the man opens the door and they go through into the air. And the man takes his hand from Angus's mouth and he can breathe again. And they're in a big room which is full of people. Babies and children and grown-ups and old people. And they're all looking at Angus with big brown eyes. And they look sorrowful and they look a bit reproachful. And Angus realises that he's in the land of the Selkies, the people of the sea, who can change from seals to human form and back again, and that they know something of who he is. And he starts to feel more afraid than he did when he was falling through the air. And the big man calls to him from the other end of the room, and he goes up, and the man brings out a big knife. And Angus is even more frightened than he was before. But the man holds out the knife to him and says, "Did you ever see this knife before?" "I did," said Angus. "It's my own knife that I lost a few days ago. I tried to kill a big old seal and he was too strong for me, and he got away with my knife still sticking in him." "That seal is my father," says the man, "and he is very sick and like to die, and only you can help him. And I knew that the only way to get you here to be with him was to use a trick. And that's all there is," he says, "to the 100 sealskins. We know who you are, Angus Ruadh, and we know you've killed many of our people. We know you've always spared the young ones, and we have some respect for you for that. And now you can help us." And he takes him into another room, and there's an old man lying on a bed with a terrible wound in him. It's infected, and the wound is still open. And the big man says to Angus, "Will you kiss the wound and bring the edges together with your hands?" So Angus kisses the wound, and the corruption dries up. And he brings the two sides of the wound together with his own hands, and the flesh joins and the wound heals up, and the old man sits up whole and well. "So," says the big man, and takes him out to the big room. And then he says to him, "There is no way you can escape from here by yourself, and you will not be a welcome guest amongst us. But I can take you back to your cottage safe and well, if you will promise never to kill another seal in your life." Well, this is an offer he can't refuse. So Angus swears that he will never kill another seal. And in those days, an oath was an oath. None of this crossing your fingers behind your back stuff. So the big man takes him back to the door, breathes another great breath into him, and they go out and up through the sea and up to the top of the cliff. I don't know how they did that. And there's the great horse waiting for them. And if they rode fast from the cottage to the cliff, they rode twice as fast going back. And the wind behind them couldn't keep up with them, the wind ahead of them couldn't get out of the way. And when they get to the cottage, Angus dismounts, and the great man leans down and he gives him a heavy bag. "This is for your work tonight," he says, and he turns and rides away. Angus is a bit shaken after all this, and he goes in, makes himself a cup of tea and sits down. Then he takes a dram and sits some more. And then he opens the bag to see what's in there. And there's pieces of gold and gold coins. It's Danish gold. Because back in the days when the Vikings were the lords of the Isles, they had a lot of dealings with the people of the sea. And the Selkies have kept the gold from that time. Now, in some versions of this story, Angus takes the gold and he buys an island and he sets up a seal sanctuary. And he gets funding from Scottish Natural Heritage, and he employs some zoology and ecology graduates and postdocs to study the seals and promote their well-being. But this is the kind of fanciful detail you get in folk tales like this. And I don't know whether to believe that or not. What I do know is that Angus Ruadh, the seal killer, never killed another seal in his life. And that's the truth.